Yes, welcome everybody to our monthly free Connect with Your True Self energy healing and training session. So, training session for those of you who come regularly. Yeah, just real quick, do this as often as you can with the instructions that you received from me with the email. You get everything that you need. Yeah, so connecting with your true self is about the most important thing that we can do. And in this 60-minute session here, conducted by myself and my beautiful co-facilitators, volunteers, yeah, energy healers that are trained. Yeah, this time we had Julianne, we had Annetta, we had Gosha, we had Jared and Roger, okay, to co-facilitate, to hold the space for you here. Welcome, everyone. My name is Jona Bryndis, and I'm an energy coach, healer, therapist, and I train other healers. And with this free session once a month, we are diving into, well, the connection with ourselves. And as a group, yeah, as we're discussing this, or as we're discussing our experiences here together, we are forming a grid throughout the planet here, yeah, of conscious people. I want to emphasize this today and give you an extra shout out, for
Sound is gone there, Yona, unless it's just for me.
okay.
I lost sound.
Lost sound. Yeah.
It's all breaking.
So can you hear me right now?
Okay, yep, you're back
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
Okay, it's weird because there's nothing going on here. Okay, I hope that the recording has parts that I can salvage. So with us doing this here, I don't know how much you lost from the audio difficulties that we had here. With us doing this here as individuals, yeah, as self-proclaimed true selves, even if we don't really have a good feel for our true self yet. Okay, even if we don't have a good feel for our true self yet, that comes with the training. But by us doing this here individually, we are entering into a whole different perception of ourselves and the world. So I'm telling you guys, yeah, as self-proclaimed true selves, right now, yeah, you have opened up, yeah, this or walked this bridge between the material world that we all find ourselves in with all its challenges and the spiritual world that is basically not just accompanying us in our or on our journey here in 3D, but that some of us have already understood is really the actual process that we're going through. So the actual journey, the actual ascension, yeah, or whatever you want to call this, happens in the spiritual. Yeah? Our job here in the physical as the outer expression, yeah, the densest aspect of ourselves. Yeah? This is not our true self that we are experiencing here in 3D, yeah, as this sort of material person. This is our ego self that we are experiencing, and no judgment in that. Yeah, so our ego self or our 3D self that we experience, with, our aches and pains, our thoughts and our feelings and experiences and so forth, is the outer expression of an inner process. So as we are proclaiming ourselves to be true selves, which is just a term, obviously, but in that term, we are opening up this connection between, yeah, these two worlds. And even if we don't have any particular spiritual beliefs, yeah, we all deep down believe that there is a higher power, yeah, something that brought us into existence. And when we open up these two worlds, when we make them more permeable for us, what happens is that we gain access to different perspectives, different perception even. And this is what the purpose of these monthly Connect with Your True Self energy sessions is. You have to walk this bridge to, even if it's just once a month, yeah, to say hi, yeah, to your true self. And I don't know how you felt right at the beginning. There was an immediate sort of rejoicing. It wasn't very long, I admit that, but it felt like meeting an old friend. Me personally, I had a big sigh and I was just like, yeah, just me, just me. And as we are entering into this connection with our true self, there is a little bit of a tricky part. Yeah, so in these first 15 minutes, we have to kind of deal with some of this negative inner self-talk or some of the unwinding of our ego self. Anybody had things come in right after the rejoicing? Like, oh, you should do this more often, or what took me so long, or you're not good enough. Oh, you're not getting it. Oh, am I doing this wrong? Something like that. Anybody?
Yeah, I felt very uneasy and distracted.
Yeah. And you're not alone, Emer. Okay, so this is important. Yeah, we have this immediate sort of like, this feels good, and then comes sort of a little bit of a distraction. Now, could you make out where that distraction was coming from?
Yeah, utterly 3D things that I just couldn't put to one side.
Okay, like thoughts or feelings?
And even, like letters.
Oh, like actual things that you
Like,
saw in front of you?
yeah, but to do with maybe like a bank or mortgage or something, which I know is completely fine, but it's some sort of old anxiety.
Yeah.
The last few
Ooh,
days, that old anxieties and angers and things, and even people that I forgot existed from the past coming up. So, and then an uneasiness and just not being able to fully focus
I
today.
love that you were sharing this, that we're getting straight to the point. This is something that I called the fear of rewounding as we were going through the session. This was pretty prevalent. So the karmic aspect of things. Now, the karmic doesn't mean a lot to everybody, but it's something from the past. Yes, I see all your guys' thumbs up. So let's take this apart. Okay, there is something really helpful about an old friend, yeah, or someone who knows you really well, to remind you of certain things, to say, hey, Jona, don't make the same mistake you did there 15 years ago or something like that. Watch that. Be careful here. There's something here that, you might enter, yeah, that is a repetition of something that you've already experienced that did not feel good back then. So there's something very helpful about this, right? Because, that's what really, really good friends are for, right? They are allowed to tell us these things. They are allowed to say, hey, remember, yeah, whether it's the new flame that you have and you start talking about that person and they say, that reminds me of this guy or that person. Or when you're about to make a decision about a job or something like that. And they've been with you, throughout your journey. And they can have some really good advice sometimes because they see things from a more neutral perspective. Obviously, they're biased because they We're assuming that they want your highest good. They only wish you well. But I don't know about you, but I listen to when my friends tell me these things. Okay, because I know that there are always things that I can't really always see. So, energy healer and da da da, all good and dandy, but I have blind spots too. I understand that through the density of living a 3D life, you know, with the family, with kids, dogs, school, and this and all that, business and sessions all day long, I can get pulled into, you know, just sort of the motions of it, and that blinds me. So there is a part in us, and the true self is the part in you that has been with you from conception. Well, not exactly conception, but let's say 3 months before you were born. It actually witnessed your soul purpose. It actually knows why you're here. And it has that function. Part of our true self's function is to inform us. Yeah, when we are about to do something that is not the right direction. Now, we also have another voice in us, and that is our critical inner voice or our negative inner self-talk that is specialized on scaring us or warning us, right? But there's a difference. If we pay attention, we can make out a difference between those two voices. Emor, looking at these things that are maybe ahead of you or that you have to tackle somehow, or, you know, that are perhaps unknown, yeah, in the future. Pay attention to these voices, okay? So there is a voice there that tells you to not repeat previous mistakes or misguidances. Yeah, it's better to call this a misguidance, yeah, in the past, or, you know, like a learning experience, yeah, a past learning experience that did not actually help you to grow. And the voice that is just talking down to you like a, I don't know, like a parent or like a teacher or like, you know, someone who's just like bam, bam, bam. And, you know, if you do this again, you know, this and this is going to happen. Because there are some things in life, and this is very prevalent right now. At the beginning of the session, there was a lot of outer energy that was coming in. And there is a lot of sort of pressure right now after having marinated in our own stagnation, yeah, for the last month or two, to push things forward, yeah, to like this no more energy. I think, Roger, that's what you called it a couple of days ago. No more, you know, I've had it. I'm done with this. I really want change. That is coming in as a cosmic energy, yeah, that is coming in from a place that wants to drive our entire collective into a higher consciousness, if you will, yeah, into a higher expression. But in order for that to happen, there are some things that we need to let go. There are some things that we need to be willing to accept that they are not the way. And this is ultimately where we get stuck. Okay, we all want growth. We all want better future. We all want, you know, all the good things. But we don't really want to do it in a way that, you know, we may have to face some things that we have been, you know, putting off. So the true self voice will come in as a good friend, yeah, and will say, hey, I know this is a negative feeling, whatever it is, you know, that you're struggling with. I know this is a negative feeling, but let's do this together. Let's, you know, maybe even seek some help. Yeah, maybe it's just because you think you're on your own that you feel that you can't do it. So the first sort of line of support that we have is our true self that speaks with us in an empowering and reassuring way. as opposed to these critical inner voices that say, oh, you do everything wrong, and oh, you didn't do this again, and blah, blah, blah. Those voices, we literally have to learn to fade them out. Now, when we go through this sort of 1 hour connecting process, you cannot prevent yourself from hearing all of it, because once you open up your ears and your eyes, at first you'll hear and see everything. Okay? And that's where we need to learn to discern. We need to learn what, just like a regulator, what to tone down and what voice to turn up. Okay? So you already know there are some things that you need to deal with in 3D. Okay? And they're part of your 3D experience. And if it's relating mortgage, many of us are experiencing issues around housing right now. Okay, because housing has gotten so much more expensive. The mortgage rates have become so much more expensive. Maybe we want to buy a house, or maybe we want to sell a house, and we're looking at all these things. Maybe we're helping other people to do that. Yeah, and a lot of people are going through this fear right now of not seeing through, these difficulties that seem to pile up. Yeah? In those kind of situations, okay, we have to look at what we have here, okay? So let's say if you want to buy a house and you're not sure if you can do it, okay, then it's maybe something that, you can't afford yet, okay? Maybe it's better if I'm not a real estate agent or anything, maybe it's better you start a little smaller and don't overburden yourself with it, because you're still going to have to manage all the other stuff that comes with it. Okay, if you run yourself dry, if you exhaust yourself in just sort of getting the dream house or whatever, and the same applies to keeping your dream house. Yeah, sometimes we're in a situation where we have to look at truth, and especially when it comes to finances, and is this even appropriate? Is this even, what I need right now? Do I even need this? Or is it exhausting me? So to get away from the housing situation or the housing thing, which is just one of these things that that many people are dealing with right now, okay, it's always about energy management. It's always about looking at, okay, how does this actually help me to move forward? Am I attached to something here? If it is about not being able to keep what I have, right? To ask myself, this is where the true self can come in, to ask myself, how is me being attached to this house, this relationship, this job, okay, really playing into my growth? Okay, if I have to run myself dry or empty, or however you want to call this, just to maintain something, am I even open or receptible for growth? If all I do is put my energy into trying to maintain, I sometimes call this the machine that I am running, okay, whatever the attachment is, am I actually even able to basically walk the next level? So energy management means not to restrict what comes up, but to learn to, to allocate and to manage our energies better. And oftentimes, and this is the hard part with discerning the material and the spiritual, oftentimes we get tangled up there. Okay, so obviously we all want a certain level of security and a certain level of comfort and a certain level of, assurance. Okay, but think about it from a spiritual standpoint. That is not necessarily what defines growth. Growth lies outside of the comfort zone. It lies where we have to step beyond, sort of the machine that we have right now. So if we put all our energy into maintaining what we have, which is our third chakra, guys, yeah? So anybody here, if you felt pressure in your chest, especially here in that sternum area, all right, That means that there's something in your life that you're trying to force. You're trying to force it. And whenever we force something, we have to put energy into it in order for it to stay. Now, your heart chakra, the one that we are aiming at, because the heart chakra is the one that actually balances and aligns us to all that is true. Okay? And there we don't have to deal with force. There we can work with the power of resonance. We can work with the power of this deeper form of attraction. Yeah, the thing that sounds so mystical when you say it, but it's actually quite simple, namely really attracting the right situations, the right people, the right houses, if you're looking for a house, yeah, or the right jobs into your life. It's not mystical. It has to do with your alignment to what it is that you want. And guess what? Advice around this, that can help us to discern, that can only come from your heart. And that is where we look for answers. That is where we look for that connection with our true self, even if there are things that are not fully worked out yet. If you look in your third chakra, if you look in like getting things done and making things, the way, you thought you wanted it, okay, you are dealing with your ego. And that's fundamentally, this discernment task that we have, is to learn to discern this. Are we trying to force something? If we force something, we have to push a lot of energy in there. I recommend you guys to read the book Power versus Force from Dr. David Hawkins. A really, really good book. It's a bit mental, so it's not for everybody. Maybe read or listen to the audiobook. It's a little easier. And he shows it really well, how all the things that are based on sympathy and antipathy, which is our third chakra, which is our ego, yeah, like what we like and dislike, yeah, what feels good and what doesn't feel good on this sort of superficial level, yeah, and karma plays into this with the memory of pain. So the memory of pain can also play into our ego because it makes us avoid things, yeah, that can allow us to grow. So we got to understand that. Yeah, so our sympathy and antipathy, what our ego likes and dislikes, is not a good navigator. If you've had trauma in specific areas of your life, growing up or later in life, your ego's job is going to be to prevent you from going there, from healing it. Okay, it will prevent you. It does not want to deal with any kind of pain, even if it would lead to growth, even if it would lead to healing. Your ego is not interested in this. So anything that feels like you have to force it, you have to kind of put too much energy into it to make it go or to maintain it, is most likely driven by your ego. And that's not a good navigator for someone who is looking for true love, true abundance, true health. Yeah, because if you're looking for the truth in things, if you're looking for things that align with who you are, why you're here, what your purpose is, you need to allow that, to show you the way. And your ego will not allow you to go there. Why? Because fundamentally, anything that lies outside of comfort, outside of avoiding pain and seeking pleasure, is scary. Yeah, makes your ego become louder. So fundamentally, you got to understand this. What works against us here in the material is our ego's fear of the unknown. And guess what? Growth is always unknown. It's always the unknown. If we would already be there and knew already everything, yeah, how to be our higher self. We didn't need to grow into it, that we'd already be it. Okay? So something that we aspire to, something that we want to grow into, is fundamentally unknown to us and therefore fundamentally scary for our ego. Fundamentally something that it will resist. Your ego will resist growth, with one exception. And that is something that came in this session as well. If it gives you some kind of external validation, approval, or fame, or glory, or something that gives you the illusion of support. Because any kind of validation, any kind of approval, any kind of external support, you cannot control that. You cannot control what your friends, what your family, what others think of you. The only thing that you can control, right, is how you feel about what is happening in your life and how you are going to respond to that. And that comes from a place of knowing who you are. And the hardest part about knowing who you are is to accept your limitations. And when I say limitations, I don't mean flaws or imperfections. I mean the things that you know about yourself that are truly triggering you, that are truly, getting the best of you. Yeah, the parts of you that you can't love yet because you're not realizing how this is helping you. Yeah, I'm a terrible procrastinator. And I suffer from procrastination every day. All right. But then last minute, okay, I'm a last minute person. I will do it. And I am showing myself that I can deliver. And do you guys know what that feels like? Okay. That's the best feeling in the world. Because right there, your true self says, I'm so glad you finally did it. Yeah. So your true self, at first, it feels a bit like conscience. Yeah. And then comes our bad conscience. But our true self is so much more, guys. It actually gently nudges us into the right direction. And if we feel that things are overwhelming, yes, that's a limitation. Okay, then really all we got to do is to admit it to ourselves and say, I feel blocked. I feel stunned. I feel like I'm procrastinating everything. I'm not moving forward. Why? Because it feels like it's too much. Okay, we can look at, is it the execution? Yeah, am I half-assing it? Yeah, can be a reason. Or is it the expectation? Is the way I want it, or what I think I want, or who I think I need to be, just simply unrealistic or way too energy inefficient that it makes no sense? Right? That can also come from your true self. To say there's nothing wrong with what you want, but the way you're trying it, or the people that you're trying it with, is not aligned yet. Those aren't the right people. Do you guys know how many times I've said this to my clients, yeah, who have had terrible experiences with other people, especially the narcissist kind? This utter sort of disappointment and excruciating like this crushed feeling, yeah, that others have, different moral standards than we do, yeah, or different values. The only mistake you made is that you didn't want to accept it at an earlier phase. You tried to force it. Because I can guarantee you, whether it's the house, the job, or the relationship, you felt it right away. You knew it right away. There was a part that said, not sure. Not the part that says, oh, and what if this, and what if this, and what if this? That's your ego. No, the part in you that felt like something ain't right here. And then your ego said, oh, no, it's fine. It's fine. Look at how cool this job is, or look at how pretty this house is, or look at how, perfect we are for another. You do the override with your ego. Okay? So obviously this was not just in response to you, Emer, but it is a really good point. Okay? Yeah, this having to go through this phase where you have to face it. Yeah, what is sitting there. And then, and this is what I'm trying to get across here, and then you need to discern, where in me is this coming from? Is this coming from my ego, or is this coming from my true self? How do I know? Well, the ego feels or sounds quite degrading. Well, it feels degrading too. The meaning sometimes. Most of you have a critical inner voice, yeah, that scares me. I can sometimes hear it when I do energy sessions with you. You would never let anybody else talk to you that way, but you allow your ego to talk that way. That in and of itself is a bit of an issue. Okay? But the other part is, how can you trust your ego, your true self better? How do you know that it's truly coming from your ego? That's what I tried to show you in the beginning here when I pointed at this feeling of meeting an old friend. Yeah, you can have good times with your old friend. You can enjoy the company. But the true service that our good friends do for us is that they help us understand ourselves better. Is that they reflect something back to us that would be beneficial for us, that would lead us to growth. Okay? And if we don't have such friends, yeah, then we're in a little bit of trouble, because then we don't even know what that feels like. I know for my part, for the first 30 years of my life, I did not have any friends that had this kind of attitude toward me. I had lots of friends, but most of them were really just interested in themselves, or they wanted something from me, but I didn't really hear any of my friends say, have you thought about this? How do you feel about this? This reminds me of this or this. Yeah, people who are willing to go a little deeper. I did not have any friends like that in the beginning of my journey. And I've often asked myself why that is, and I know the answer now. Because I wasn't true with myself. See, a friend that comes to you like a true self is a true self. A friend that comes to you, yeah, that with sort of this nurturing and well-wishing attitude and says, I love what you do. It's awesome. And look at how far you've come, and you've grown so much. Yeah. Maybe not for me, but for you, I can see this is so awesome. But maybe look over here. Does this feel like it's really aligned to you? Because to me, it doesn't. And that's something that can only come from another true self. So really what I'm trying to show you is not just how to discern, your true self from your ego voice, but also how to discern this in other people. How to surround yourself with other true selves. What to look for. These are the people that will support you. Even if they don't do anything for you, they don't have to do anything to support you. They just have to be there. You just have to sort of attract them into your life. And how do you attract other true selves into your life? By being authentic and truthful with yourself. By being able to say, I don't know about you, maybe it's just me, maybe it's my past trauma or my inner child or my shadow or whatever, but what I'm seeing right now feels like this and this and that. How do you feel about this? This is a true self phrase. Yeah, recognizing or even just acknowledging that I could see things through, my own sort of bias, but truly interested in what the other person sees. Yeah, what they are perceiving, be it about myself or something that we both look at or something that we've experienced together. It doesn't matter. That is what a true self sounds like. There's a certain level of neutrality there, but also a level of knowing myself. Has it ever dawned on you that the reason why we are, engaging in all these things that are inauthentic for us, that are not true to us, has to do with the people that surround us? This is a question that came up during the session. What if you were surrounded by true selves only? What if all people that you know are 100% authentic and true? Would it make sense to trying to be someone that you're not? To pretend, to fake things? So would it make sense? It would not make any sense. So the reason why we pretend, why we project, why we fake things is because the majority of people around us do. What's so bad about acknowledging that we have an inner child? Or that we have a shadow? It would be wonderful, would it? If everything needs to be true, everything you say, no more white lies, no more bending truth, no more projecting. You'd be okay with that, Cheryl. Cheryl, you have a lot of practice already, and you can share it for yourself, but also a lot of practice in the resistance that comes at you from others when you actually start becoming real with yourself. Yeah, so there's a resistance. You need to be aware of this, guys. This is part of accepting truth. You need to be aware of where the other people are at that you are communing with, that you are socializing with, where the society is. Where is our society here on the level of truth? What would you say? Is our society based on truth? Is the information that is coming at us, be it news, social media, is that all based on? No way. Yeah, share in the microphone, please.
Yeah, I was just going to say absolutely not. Absolutely. It's never been more false.
Yeah.
It screams, fake and, there's a word, gaslighting. It's just unbelievable and
Yeah,
getting more intense.
and we keep complaining about it, right?
Mm.
But then we play the game though, right?
Yeah. It's exhausting.
It's exhausting. It's all third chakra stuff.
We have to, I feel like I get pulled into the game if I'm dealing with 3D situations And then, when I'm on something like this or around the people that you're talking about, I feel like it matters, but you get pulled in, very regularly. I think unless you don't need to go and interact with the outside world.
And that's an interesting point you're making there. Is that the only conclusion? Do you have to isolate yourself and better stay away from others because others are so fake?
Yeah. No, I mean, the more of this kind of thing that personally I engage with, the better equipped I am. But I notice like it's like glitches in the world or in the outer environment where just now and again it's like somebody gives me a shove or something. It's sometimes it's a bit much, all the outside stuff.
So what do we need to learn in order to, deal with this better? I mean, we can bicker and complain about how fake and how, everything out there is, but we're part of out there, I mean, we're the out there for others.
Mm-hmm.
Are we pretending, everything's hunky-dory and we just got to, try harder to make it?
What I'm personally trying to do is to be what I want to see, and kind of engaging in activities and things that are hopefully good for the planet and people, I hope.
Yeah, and that's a good way, Emer, that's the alignment process that I talked about earlier. Yeah, and it's all work in progress for all of us. Yeah, because we all come out of a 3D understanding of ourselves. But once we start fostering this relationship with our true self, and this is not some abstract, the true self, it is the true us. Yeah, the one that feels harmonious, yeah, with others, with ourselves and the world in which we live. Yeah, then we begin to see things a little differently. Yeah, we can, of course, truth can see that our society is toxic right now. It's toxic for relationships, it's toxic for health, it's toxic for family, it's toxic for mostly all of our social concerns. Okay? I mean,
the sound is just gone again, Jona. Completely gone.
I think she'll come back.
Okay.
If we just wait. Yep, there you are, Jona. We just lost you for a second.
There's nothing going on here, so I'm not sure what that I don't get the signal either.
It was only a moment, so.
Okay. So it's easy to see the truth for those of us who align to truth, yeah? So there's still a lot of people out there who don't want to see truth, and we understand why. Because it's scary to look at truth right now. Yeah, we'll have to conclude that what we are faced with, okay, is not leading us to how we want things, to where we want to go. So seeing truth is not even the task here. That's just a prerequisite. The main task we have to deal with, and this is what this session was about, guys, is accepting truth. Well, how does one accept the truth that we're living in a world that is fundamentally toxic? People are fake. News is fake. We're poisoning the planet. We're poisoning each other, ourselves. How does one accept that? One way, like you just said, Emer, is to, gradually trying to do better. Making an effort, to remove toxicity out of our lives. To enter lifestyles, ways of living, places even, conducting relationships, jobs, that don't add to the pollution, if you will. That don't add to the toxicity. That's the lowest level. Yeah. That don't burn us out, that don't, scare us or that degrade us. Those are spiritual forms of toxicity. Things that degrade us, they poison us spiritually. Yeah, things that exhaust us. Yeah, they steal energy from us from a spiritual point of view. Things that dishearten us, since you said that, Joe, yeah, or that disappoint us. They hurt us spiritually because they take hope and faith and love away from us. You got to understand that if you look at the world and, these dynamics, these interactions that we're in, this toxicity, yeah, that is expressed through our society and the world, the way we're living with one another, those are dark forces acting through people, organizations, governments, and so forth, including ourselves. Guys. Yeah. And that's okay. But we can only heal this or only mitigate this or, try to do better if we accept that it is that way. Yeah? Accepting doesn't mean sucking up or agreeing with things. Accepting means to be realistic, to be in reality. Yeah, to have the eyes wide open. And guess what happens? This is where, a lot of confusion comes in. Once we start seeing the world the way it is, yes, Julia, not only can we do self-corrections then and heal things, no, we also begin to see these things like I talk about dark forces and stuff like that. We begin to see the dynamics. We begin to see how this all works. Toxicity is basically spread every time I am lying, every time I am inauthentic, every time I am engaging in something that is, fake, that I'm pretending, or that is based on some kind of self-deception. That is also a dark force, guys. So we talk about others like they're like the enemies. Okay. No. When you connect with your true self and when you align to truth, you begin to see yourself fully, including your own projections, including your own deceptions, including your error perceptions. And that's where growth happens. Because it allows us to step into, like Julianne called it, self-correction, into saying, I can't change the fact that other people, do this or that or believe this or that. But I know myself. I know who I am. I know what is true to me. And that I need to bring into expression. I need to set more clear boundaries. I need to stop engaging in things that I already know are toxic for me. Be it lifestyle things, or foods or things like that, or relationships. Anything that is not true to me is fundamentally something that is, if you will, an energetic burden. It is something that needs to be metabolized. It is something that your system, your energy system needs to do something with. It exhausts you. So most of us have the right values, have the right aspirations, but we just can't align that with our current environment. We're surrounding ourselves with too many toxic things. including our own toxic thoughts, including self-deception, telling ourselves that it's all fine, then it's not. What's so hard about saying, this is not fine right now, this sucks, and yet I do feel overwhelmed and I don't know how to tackle this? What is so hard about this? Why do we have such a hard time admitting this to others? Why can't we just say, I do not like this world. I do not like the life that I have built around me, because that is not, or does not feel true to me. Even in a relationship, we can say this, guys. Because if the other person has only as much as a truth impulse, you know what they'll say? They'll say, how do you mean that? Can you describe that to me? How would it feel like if it was more true? And now you're growing, because now you're accepting that it is that way, and you're allowing yourself to think beyond the limitation. So it is your ego that stops at a limitation, and it is your true self, all right, that gives you this gentle nudge to say, let's make this more true. And sometimes we have to start at the foundation, because if something like a relationship or a job or, you know, whatever it is that we're trying to build is based on untruth, not based on truth, if a foundation is not truthful, all right, then it's going to be very, very difficult. You need way too much energy to make this so. And it's better to start from scratch. So what I'm saying, guys, and this is the main message here in this session, and we have a few more minutes where you can share maybe about some things that you've experienced during this session. It's about accepting truth, and it's about slowing down. There's a lot of stuff that is coming in right now, yeah, including from your true self. Yeah, so these cosmic energies that I've reported about in the forecast, they're screaming at us. Yeah, they're force feeding us with, you need to grow, you need to grow, you need more truth, you need more love, you need more freedom in your life. Yeah, this is the right impulse, but you need to slow that down, because most of your life's areas, yeah, that you built based on your ego, they do not match up. So it needs to harmonize. You need to allow yourself to harmonize. If it means that you have to downsize, then downsize. If it means that you have to finally find the courage to step out and come out of the woodwork, yeah, and be okay with the fringe dweller, spiritual woo-woo person that you've always been, yeah, then do that, whatever your personal challenge is. Your true self and all other true selves will be there to support you, because a true self, yeah, is part of a different energy field, if you will. It's the energy field that is aligned to evolution, that is aligned to growth, yeah, to the divine nature of things here, which means you are stepping into a field that is always going upward. It is the ego that tries to stop things, to halt things, to trying to press it into some kind of expectation or some kind of preconceived, cookie cutter way of how you think it's supposed to be. When you step into this relationship with your true self, all these notions of boundaries, how to say no to people sometimes, how to maintain, your own needs and wants, and how to balance that will come in through your true self, through these considerations. It's a level of, it's a jump in consciousness that you are doing in that moment. So for me, as a coach, as a therapist, okay, the main goal is to connect you with this field of all true selves, that path where all people that have walked this path before you, and maybe you can come up with some names in history, okay, people that you admire, that really stood their ground and that basically won, not winning as in competing, but that sort of succeeded in just being true to themselves. If you know people, write those names down, maybe read their biographies, learn from them. So when you connect with that, you connecting with all the people that walked on this path before you, and all of the people, all of you that are walking on this path with you. And guess what? All the people that will walk on this path, even if it's hard to imagine. This field of true selves is also something that I described as the spirit of truth. So go back to the January forecast write-up in my website, okay, and there I define the spirit of truth. This is a power, and that power, once you join that, okay, will work for you. Because truth always wins. Freedom always wins. Love always wins. But without truth, there cannot be love. So this feeling of being supported and, sort of having the right people around you, that can only be accomplished if you can work this with yourself. Only a true self can recognize another true self. And that's a really beautiful encounter. You can have that with strangers on the street, or with people that you've only met once, or people that you see on TV. You will be able to recognize true selves. So that's my tip for you, is to pick people, either in history or in real life, that you see, that you recognize as true selves. Because that will help you to form a better true self-identity. It's not about copying others, and it's not about wanting to be like them. It's about that feeling that you have when you are with them or when you listen to them. And to aspire to become this person for others. Yes, exactly. Read about them if it was in the past, or talk to others about those kind of things. How do you know that another person is a true self? Ultimately, the goal is for you to form a network of true selves, to form a tribe or a family of true selves. You have to only surround yourselves with people that are true. And this has nothing to do with a spiritual teaching or faith or anything like that. This is about real people. You are on your path of becoming real to yourself. And the biggest support that you will get is from others that are on the same path. So find these people. And how do you find them? by becoming as real as you can every minute, every moment of your life, to live as a true self every moment of your life, not as an ideal, but as a striving for your higher self, for your higher expression. And in that striving, manifestation happens. And ultimately that manifestation then plays out as resonance with others. Okay? So that's how this goes. Truth is the main prerequisite for manifesting your true heart's desire. Because without truth, you don't even know if what you desire is really aligned to who you are. We're briefly, anybody wants to share maybe something that they've experienced during the session, or maybe you've had completely different experiences other than, you know, sort of what I analyzed here to be sort of the main theme in this group. Yeah, we had over 80 people in this session. We all have our individual tasks, and it will feel and manifest differently in our personal lives. I hope that this little reflection here, yeah, and the points that I try to bring into your awareness, that this helps you to connect. There's obviously, you know, also the need for, you know, finding platforms and so forth to practice all of this, and this is what we are trying to do here as this sacred self or daily sacred self community. This is a place where you can join online meditations, where you can share, where you can discuss things with many other different true selves. But let me remind you, this is also important that you do this in your personal 3D life. Yeah. So you can't compartmentalize it and have this like these real cool spiritual groups and stuff where everything is true, and then you go back into your 3D life and then everything is fake again. This does not work. Yeah. That's the reason why our manifestations don't work. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for coming. Personally,
Thank you, Jonathan. Thank you.
You're welcome. Personally, I enjoyed our session a lot. Yeah, because everything I talk about,
Jona.
I have to go through too. Okay, so I'm just a true self, just like you guys. And I love to see all of you guys, and I love the knowing that there are so many of you out there. Okay, let's work this together, guys. Okay, I see you very soon. Till then, bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.